All right, guys, Grand Power is not a name that is well known in the United States, but they make some pretty amazing pistols. I have previously looked at, this is their Q100 MK23, which means it was revised in 2023. But this is a rotating barrel version of a striker gun that has a pretty bonkers trigger out of the box. And this is the Grand Power Excalibur, which is their IPSC sort of production optics type gun. Really awesome gun. It's a hammer fired gun with a pretty low bore axis in the rotating barrel. It shoots really well. It's just a really nice gun. And Grand Power has done something that not many people in the segment do, which is the K22 X-Trim, which is a full-size version with the same grip as those other two pistols that I just showed you. Same controls as the Excalibur, but it is a blowback fixed barrel version of a gun that is going to be a 22 trainer. Now, a typical 22 gun is usually some little baby gun that is much smaller than their big brother counterparts. As you can see here with the Excalibur, it is pretty much identically sized. The grips are the same, but the slide and barrel is a little bit longer. The slide is super skeletonized, as you can kind of see there, so super lightweight because it has to be for 22. And as a result, this gun is, noticeably lighter than this gun. This is much more muzzle heavy due to the front end being steel on the match gun specifically. But the K22 is a really, really good facsimile for the big brother Grand Powers. The other cool thing about this is it's a double single action with pretty much identically as good a trigger as the Grand Power Excalibur. It is a double single, and I'll show it to you only once because it is rimfire. There's the double action, and here is the reset. It's a little bit longer than you'd like it to be. And then the single action is super crisp. It's not particularly heavy weighted, but it is really good. And to show you the Grand Power Excalibur double action, there it is. It's got a little bit more at the back end of the trigger, just a little bit more weight, but it has the same reset, and the single action is just a little bit softer on this gun. But it is close enough to be within the margin of error where this is basically the same trigger as this one. So I'll kind of tell you about it real quick, and then we'll talk about how it shoots, some drawbacks, and kind of speculations for the gun, and we'll go from there. So first and foremost, this is selling at about 6.5 bills, which is a very expensive 22. A lot of 22s are kind of right at that 4 or less mark. So this is, a bigger gun than a lot of those, and it costs more as a result. It comes with 3 10-round magazines, which sell for about 30 bucks a pop. So they're not stupid cheap, and they're polymer with kind of that follower that you pull down manually, and they're pretty easy to load. The sights that come on the gun are 3-dot fiber optics. There's greens in the back and red in the front as it comes from the factory, but the rear sight can come off entirely, and you can mount optics using the same plates as the big brother guns. It comes with 3 or 4 footprints. It's got like Delta Point Pro, Shield, the RMR, and like Doctor, because I guess people still use Doctor plates. And I think it comes with the Seymour plate as well, if you want to go that route. Now, that said, this is a 22 pistol with a skeletonized lightweight slide. I would expect that you would want to run a lighter optic on it, so you're not, slowing down how the slide is moving and creating feeding issues for it. So something to consider when making an optic selection for a pistol like this, since the optic does mount to the slide, which is moving. It does have a threaded barrel, which is a premium feature. So if you wanted to get a compensator for it to tame the mighty 22LR system, yeah, I know you don't need one, but at the same time, guys who shoot these in Steel Challenge, like all of the guys shooting Steel Challenge and rimfire, seem to have compensators in the divisions that allow them. So you have that option available to you. I didn't screw with one because I didn't shoot it in Steel Challenge. And the trigger, as I mentioned, I think that the trigger is probably better than an out-of-the-box Shadow 2. Like Shadow 2 has a decent double single trigger with a decent single action. This is better than that. I would say it's just a click shy of a 226 Legion trigger, which I think has the best double single trigger out of the box of any of the guns currently offered, short of like an Ernest Langdon trigger job. And even this is still a pretty awesome trigger. Reliability wise, it was great. I had it out at the range a couple times. It doesn't allow me to film, so you don't get to see footage, but I tried 5 different types of 22 ammo, and I'm happy to report that this will set off without a problem the Aguila ammo, which I bought a few thousand rounds of back in the day, and none of the pistols seem to run it, but this one will because it's hammer fired, is my guess. But this runs that happily, and that was pretty nice. It ran all the other ammo without any problems. I have no idea what the round count is on the pistol. It's a 22. You just keep stuffing it full until you decide you don't want to do it anymore. So it's had a lot of rounds through it, and it's pretty dirty. I haven't cleaned it, and it didn't really have any issues. The only problems we had are the typical like bad rounds of 22 issues that you get into sometimes. Now let's get into the subjective bits on this. Now, fair warning, this pistol was provided by Global Ordnance, who's the US importer for Grand Power. Doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to hold anything back. The good news is the pistol is awesome. The bad news is, oh, well, we'll get to the bad news. So I personally really like how the gun handles. I like the way the gun is shaped. I wish it had more traction at the top of the grip to resist recoil, but that is a criticism that I share on the Excalibur as well. Just the pistol wants to rotate and there's nothing up here to prevent the pistol from rotating. So it's prime for some like skateboard tape or silicon carbide or something like that. The mag catch is accessible from both sides. You can see I just dropped it with my trigger finger. There is me dropping it with my thumb. So it is a truly ambi pistol. And honestly, I don't mind that. I think it's okay. I do really like how the gun shoots. Now, I had my 10-year-old out and I had him shoot the pistol side by side with the P322. And he's like, I don't know, it shoots about like the other gun. Like, it wasn't a big difference in his hands. I found that I preferred it over the P322 because it has a full-size grip and I can use a full-size grip on the gun. I just like full-size grips more than those little compact grips. But this isn't so much a criticism of the product so much as how the product is positioned. So like, who is this gun for? Most people who want to shoot 22s want to do pistol shooting on the cheap. That's why they buy a gun that costs about 400 bucks or less, and then they shoot the cheapest ammo they can find through it. This does all the same things as the $400 gun, but a little bit better perhaps, but it's not as nice as like the 1500 Volquarsten Black Mamba or anything like that. So it is occupying kind of a middle ground, and like, that's where I'm kind of struggling because I'm not sure that there is a middle ground of people who want 22 caliber pistols. I love the fact it's a full-size pistol, but I mean, how many folks are out there looking for kind of a more expensive version of a 22? It's just a double single action, and it, you know, if you were a Excalibur shooter, say, it would port 1-to-1 with that. So I'm curious, and this is where you sound off in the comments and let me know, like, is there a middle ground for a 22 pistol, or is that just kind of too rich? I don't know. I'm speculating that it would do better with a lower price, but it is a premium gun that is nicer than kind of the same guns that are hanging out in sort of that $400 price point. Other than that, there's nothing really wrong with it. Like, my biggest grip truly is just there's not texture right there on the grip. That's it. Now, I will point you at the takedown of the gun on the Excalibur video that I did. I don't care to redo that here, but it's kind of weird taking these apart. It does run on a dual recoil spring that is uncaptured. It's like a thin diameter spring on a thicker diameter spring on the outside, and it's, you know, a super lightweight deal. And they come apart weird and they go back together weird, but that's just kind of how they are. If you want to find out more information on the super awesome Grand Power Excalibur, you can watch that video here.